Part 1. Disassociation and the disarming comfort of edgy humor. Now, you probably already know, but if you didn't know, hey there, cutie, thanks for showing up. The Boys is a superhero-based show that satirizes modern political culture with extreme violence and vulgarity. At its core, The Boys is a heavy-handed, ham-fisted superhero satire lacking in subtle nuance about a plucky, ragtag group of misfits who are on a quest to see the wizard. You know, and by wizard, I mean a sociopathic Superman stand-in named Homelander, and by see, I mean kill. It's their most primary of goals to kill Homelander. They all have their reasons, and their reasons are pretty solid. Despite what it might sound like, I do enjoy watching The Boys, because as a critical adult human with a dynamic brain, I understand that it's possible to like something and also criticize it. Now, over the past 2 seasons, The Boys has received a lot of blowback from the more right-leaning portion of its audience who, if I had to guess, initially felt safe due to the show's edgy teenage boy humor, along with the fact that there were no real trans women, black women, or gay men in the show to make them feel uncomfortable. Okay, so you could argue I'm being disingenuous and virtue signally for saying that, but just look at some of the season 4 commentary and it's pretty easy to tell what makes this portion of the audience uncomfortable. Not worth finishing this series. Why do all these writers think they should put their woke ideologies and politics in the shows they make? They're so needy they have to validate their feelings through shows they make, then why should we want to see it?
Disgusting, twisted gay porn. Making that friendship gay was the biggest deviant behavior they could have done in this evil bag.
I didn't write it, they did. Hence, reality outpacing satire. This blowback comes from a portion of the audience who, by the way, could not tell that Homelander was the main villain of the series, despite making a raging super Nazi his de facto girlfriend. Stormfront, if you didn't know, is a literal Nazi from World War II with actual superpowers. If you need a real-world parallel for illustration, if Homelander is Donald Trump, Stormfront would be his Stephen Miller.
Look at who we have here, Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller is so racist. The reason he went bald is because his hair was black. Stephen Miller puts the cyst in white supremacists. He's like if baby Hitler traveled in time to kill us.
Now, do I think they've laser-titted together or done anything penetrative? No. But I do think they've probably scissored each other's fart knuckles. Okay, with juvenile jokes like that, I think I would have been very successful in The Boys' writer's room. Eric Kripke, if you're hiring. And let's be serious. I'm just kidding about Donald Trump. He would never do something like that. I mean, it's not like Stephen Miller is an 11-year-old girl.
What, too harsh? How about I say it with a clown nose?
Sorry, I'm sorry. It's a joke, it's a joke, it's a joke. I mean, comedy is legal again, right? 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 It's important to note that this same right-leaning section of the audience didn't call it propaganda or on-the-nose satire when the show was making fun of the performative, left-leaning media elites with things like the Girls Get It Done campaign or the handling of Queen Maeve's queerness. They probably thought that shit was a documentary, to be honest with you. In general, I worry that portion of the audience has a hard time understanding what reality is. I worry that portion of the audience has a hard time understanding what satire is. I worry that portion of the audience has a hard time understanding. You see, I can live in a world where both things are true. Performative, left-leaning media makes my skin crawl. Not left-leaning media in its rawest form, but performative left-leaning media. Disingenuous and dishonest media. You can see that in some of my essays on shows that are so aggressively performative that they actually end up horseshoeing into the very thing that they're trying to distance themselves from, i.e. feminist-leaning shows that end up being misogynistic when looked at up close and critically. Link in the description, cutie. However, I also live in a world where, though that stuff makes my skin crawl, and I do think it corrodes society to a degree and lessens critical trust, it's also kind of obvious that bigotry and fascism are a little bit worse. And when we have a president and political movement that conspires to undermine things like the rule of law and the separation of powers, not to mention, again, the bigotry and fear-mongering, all reaching their zenith in situations like the ICE raids, we are moving on from societal corrosion all the way to to existential threat. Now hold my hand, you're not gonna like this. Don't worry, it's soft and clean. This is why saying both sides are bad is a flawed and simple-minded logic. It is a disingenuous play at making yourself look enlightened and critical. It is artifice. It is specious. It is the equivalent of saying that eating trans fats and drinking arsenic are the same. One could possibly kill you later, the other one is actually killing you right now. You know, both are bad in the sense that bad is a vague word, but in terms of relativity, the Cheesecake Factory is not rat poison, though some might argue differently. Let me rephrase. The Cheesecake Factory is not literally rat poison. Better? Part 2. What is her superpower? Twerking. So here's a building block of the dissonance. When it comes to the left versus right, a lot of it is people on the left fighting for human rights. You know, women's rights, gay rights, trans rights, black rights, social programs to help the poor, to lessen the burden on the working class, to fight for education and healthcare for all, tax the rich, etc. ad infinitum, woke. However, when it comes to the right versus the left, a lot of it is people on the right being upset about those groups merely existing, increasing with anger over time as these groups have become more and more outspoken and prevalent in society.
Mad because women, gay, trans, black, DEI, immigrants, woke.
These are the things that they take umbrage with.
Do you know who's killed more people than ICE this year? Trans shooters. Do you know the majority of these high school shootings have been transgender people? You know why? Because they're giving them psych medications, they're giving them a bunch of crazy hormones, and a lot of them probably have mental struggles already. They're ostracized from society, and fill in the blank, and then they're empowered by thinking the world has done something bad to them, that there's like a genocide against trans people.
Silly, stupid, Humpty Dumpty ass Joe. You know, this is just fucking insane. Reality is a satire of the boys, actually. You know, that should have been the thumbnail. How are we connecting ICE to trans shooters? What is that leap in logic? Okay, first of all, ICE shouldn't be killing any innocent people. Okay, ICE shouldn't be doing anything it's fucking doing, but that's beside the point. There's no room for our government agencies to randomly be killing innocent citizens. On top of that, why aren't we comparing trans shooters to other demographics of shooters instead of someone occupying the role of a job, aka cisgender white men? Also, fuck you for making me say cisgender. I don't want to be doing this right now. However, they commit the most of these atrocities. They're the fucking ones who shoot up black churches and get taken out to Burger King. Oh, you want some Burger King? You must be hungry after killing all those innocent people. Reality is a satire of the boys. This is nonsense. This is brain rot. This is another example of men thinking with their emotions and zero logic. I mean, I guess we don't even need to talk about the fact that trans people are more likely to be a victim of violence than to commit violence. Also, very cute having mild awareness that these shooters might be motivated by the social ostracization of trans people, but then go on a full rant ostracizing trans people. You can't make up the irony. Shakespeare would die for talent like that. And some might argue that he did. I mean, if we're gonna go by statistics, men wouldn't be allowed to have or do anything. Luckily, I have to say it, I'm so sorry. Hashtag not all men. You see, unfortunately, I am on both sides to a degree because I have the critical thought necessary to not build all of my ideas and arguments off of emotion. Only some of my ideas. It must be the man in me. That man being your father. Okay, my humblest apologies. Rant over. Take it away, Adelina.
You know, decades of white men shooting up shopping malls and society was fine. Society was different back then, but now we have some transgender shooter. That ain't right. Mass shootings just feel a little different to me. They're just not what they used to be. They're not what God intended. God intended grown men to shoot up these schools and shopping malls. Praise Him.
See, you think shit like firecracker is disingenuous, but conservative media is filled with firecrackers, like a 4th of July butt plug. Like with the Joe Rogan clip, they fan the flames of bigotry and misinformation all the time, with no consequences because you people don't give a fuck. They blame drag queens for grooming the youth instead of their churches, their family members, their president. Sometimes it's both their family members and their president.
She's really a beautiful baby, and she's got marvelous legs. I don't know whether or not she's got this part yet, but time will tell. She does have a very nice figure. I've said that if Ivanka weren't my daughter, perhaps I'd be dating her. You know?
Drag queens in mask commit crimes every day for the next decade, and they could never catch up with the groundwork that's already been laid. This is a sect of people genuinely upset with the fact that Sage is the smartest person in the world and also a black woman. They're so mad about this. They are truly upset. This is where we truly see their psychology on full display. This is how we better understand why they never saw Homelander as the villain. They don't care whether or not Sage is a genocidal maniac. They don't care if she's a shitty person. The only thing they care about is that she has been given the mantle of God-tier intellect as a black woman, which is honestly a pretty profound demonstration of how they're processing this information. They like Homelander, assumedly because he's the most powerful man in the world, and they need a vicarious daddy figure to live through. It doesn't matter if he's fascist or genocidal or cruel. They don't care. He is Daddy.
And when Dad gets home, you know what he says? You've been a bad girl. You've been a bad little girl, and you're getting a vigorous spanking right now.
Let's read through some comments, shall we?
What is her superpower? Twerk it? Smartest. I'm willing to suspend my disbelief, but there's a limit.
So ruined.
We was the smartest.
She checks all the DI boxes for sure.
Yeehaw! We was Wakanda smart. DEI hero of the day. Pathetic.
That's called a quote-unquote Mary Sue.
Fucking idiot doesn't even know what a Mary Sue is.
You ain't got it, never. And now we'll never. Watch it. Yeah, I could say immerse the whole superpowers thing, but this is too much. Lost me. 'Cause she is black.
Wow, what a deeply philosophical question, Tribal Gooner. You must be the smartest in your homestead. This is your team. This is your people. This is your political movement. It is disingenuous to call this disingenuous. And I know some of you want to call them jokes, but these aren't jokes. One, they're not very well executed. Two, these are just political opinions cosplaying as jokes. But you know, it's one of those cardboard and duct tape cosplays. Nope, fuck that. Too generous, too kind. You people are actually just fucking racist. You see, this is why Stormfront and Homelander and Firecracker need to exist the way they do. If you find yourself wondering why the satirization has skewed more toward the Donald Jesus Trump of it all, I would guess that if your present reality is confronting mainstream bigotry and fascism, then it becomes a lot more difficult to satirize LGBTQ lasagna. Lasagna, good boy, taste it quick. AKA the satirization of performatively shoving gayness down our throats. I wish Soldier Boy would shove gayness down my... oh, what?
Would you like some knee pads?
I'm sorry?
You're looking at me like you want to suck my hog. So I'm asking if you would like some knee pads.
I don't even need the knee pads, but it's really nice of you to ask. This satirization being the talking point of many people on the right, women, gays, minorities, they feel all of it is being forced upon them. When, in reality, they're just sharing a world with people they hate for pretend reasons they made up in their own heads. So, please don't take that as a certified stamp of approval given to any group and or person on the left, as there are genuine issues to critique there. However, when one side is literally rolling back rights, including things like abortion, demanding actual censorship at the behest of the government, and protecting the Epstein class, as well as steeping itself in bigotry, you need to do a little triage. Nothing gets done without triage. People bleed out in the waiting room without triage. A broken arm and a gunshot wound to the chest, who do you treat first? Not that both can't lead to death if untreated, but one most certainly will. And I'm gonna help you out. It's probably the gunshot wound to the chest. Part 3, oh no, it broke its ankle. Satire is losing the race. Moving forward, keep in mind, production on The Boys Season 5 began in November of 2024 before Trump took office for his second term. So this stuff was written and recorded before shit got weird. In an interview with The Hollywood Reporter, showrunner Eric Kripke answers the primary thesis of this video when the interviewer asked a very cringely worded question, attempting to connect the word Homelander with homeland. You don't have to reach, the food is already on the plate. Eric Kripke notes, it's never great when the world out-crazies your superhero show with exploding penises. The stuff that has come to pass since we wrote it, including internment camps, sending federal troops into cities, even tiny references like that clown in charge of the military. Here, he's connecting the boys' minor character General Mayhem with Pete Hegseth's rebranding from the Secretary of Defense to the Secretary of War. Secretary of War! Eric Kripke says with an exclamation point, because he needs to be extra macho. When we were writing the season, and I swear I'm not making this up, we genuinely thought it was a little out there, that this is the furthest we were venturing into full-on sci-fi, or at least speculative fiction, and so much of it has come to pass already. It's really upsetting. I don't know what else to say about it. Now, for those of you who might have been confused by that, it is important to note that he's not talking about the superheroes when he references science and speculative fiction. He's referencing the connected real-world events. To reiterate, General Mayhem, aka the cartoonish and really strong, big alpha male rebranding of Secretary of Defense to Secretary of War. Freedom camps, aka internment camps like Alligator Alcatraz. Cities being flooded with federal troops who commit government-sanctioned murder against the country's citizens at the behest of an egomaniac who would destroy the world if it meant his own ego was fed, aka ICE. Internet personalities like Firecracker literally turning on her spiritual, emotional, and moral beliefs, including socially destroying the one person in her life who had ever shown her kindness and love, as well as spreading disinformation, not to mention destroying her actual body just to deify and support someone who is not only incapable of loving her, but is also actively disgusted by her. AKA, I don't know, take your pick of media figures and politicians who have bent the knee and sworn their souls to Donald Jesus Trump lest they be burned by imaginary dragons. No, not those imaginary dragons, the other imaginary dragons.
Dracarys.
Speaking of, and most importantly, Homelander sacrilegiously proclaiming himself God, creating his own church and religion in the process, aka the Donald Jesus Trump of it all. Part 4, Donald Jesus Trump. In an interview with Polygon, Eric Kripke says, I am really tired and weary of the world reflecting the show before we get a chance to do it. I appreciate the marketing. I'm just like, can you please give us a chance to put some absurd satire out there before you prove that it's more realistic than we ever intended? In The Boys Season 5, Episode 3, Every One of You Sons of Bitches, Homelander has an almost AI psychosis vision of his milk mommy, Madeline Stillwell, the very one he laser beamed in the skull. She essentially tells him that he is God, meant to ascend and shape the world in his image.
But who is more loved than Jesus?
And why should he have more love than you? Baptize the unfaithful in their own blood. Rip babies from their mother's wombs. Skin parents in front of their children. Rid the world of the wicked, the non-believers.
Eric Kripke says, this is the episode where Homelander decides he's going to be God, and 48 hours before it, Trump releases an image of himself as God. A month ago, when we were talking about marketing, I was like, Homelander saying he's God is so out there. We have to be careful about how we even introduce the idea to the public because they'll say he's gone too far, and here we are. It's just really hard to out-satire this world. I like to imagine that he broke down crying at some point. All these reviews are calling this woke nonsense, but take away the compound V of it all, and this heavy-handed, ham-fisted show is holding up a dirty, coke-smudged mirror to reality as we slouch toward Bethlehem. Thank you so much for watching. Hit the buttons, cutie. Never undercome, only overcome, shoot high. And expect to miss. Love you. Have a good night.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you're gonna love it. Do it. Oh, it's gonna be so good. Do it. So good.
Well, it's time. I'm subscribing.
Excellent.